Sarah had always been an independent woman. At 45, she owned her own successful online business and a spacious two-story house that she rented out rooms in to supplement her income. She had never married or had children, instead focusing on her career and financial stability. Overall, Sarah was content with the life she had built for herself. That is, until a new tenant moved in and gradually turned her carefully ordered world upside down. His name was Liam, a 25-year-old graduate student pursuing his master's degree in education. When he came to look at the room for rent, Sarah was immediately struck by his warm smile, thoughtful demeanor, and old-fashioned politeness, qualities she rarely encountered in men his age. After Liam moved in, Sarah began to look forward to their chance encounters. A friendly morning greeting as they passed each other heading out the door, small talk over coffee on the weekends when Liam studied at the kitchen table. She learned he came from a working-class family and was putting himself through grad school, juggling a heavy course load with part-time work. His work ethic and ambition impressed her. As the weeks went by, Sarah found herself thinking about Liam more and more, in ways that caught her off guard. She hadn't been attracted to anyone in years, let alone a man young enough to be her son. Flustered, she chalked it up to loneliness and tried to ignore her growing feelings. After all, what could a vibrant young man like Liam possibly see in a middle-aged landlady like herself? The notion was laughable. One Saturday, Sarah was struggling to make sense of her business accounts, which had fallen into disarray. Noticing her stress, Liam offered to help, revealing he had a knack for numbers and organization. Soon he was helping her a few hours each weekend, getting her books in order. Sarah insisted on paying him, grateful for the assistance. As they worked side by side, she was continually impressed by Liam's intelligence, along with his unassuming kindness. Their easy rapport made the time pass quickly. Sarah looked forward to their bookkeeping sessions all week, though she knew it was foolish to pin so much significance on a few hours spent with her tenant. To distract herself, she threw herself into her work and started going to bed early, not trusting herself alone with her thoughts. But Liam began to pop up in her dreams. Innocent at first, then increasingly intimate. Sarah would wake flushed and yearning, furious with herself. Oblivious, Liam remained warm yet proper, the perfect tenant and employee. Sometimes Sarah thought she glimpsed a special softness in his eyes when he looked at her, but then he'd politely glance away, and she was sure she'd imagined it. She felt like a silly schoolgirl with a crush, her imagination running away with her. It wasn't like her to be so fanciful. As the months passed and Liam's graduation approached, Sarah knew their arrangement would soon come to an end. She tried to steel herself, to see it as a blessing in disguise, a much-needed end to her unrequited feelings. Still, the thought of no longer seeing Liam filled her with a piercing ache she was ashamed of. One warm evening near the end of spring semester, Sarah was out watering flowers in the front yard when Liam got home, wearing his usual shirt and tie from his internship. He gave her a wave and came over, smiling. "Yard's looking great," he said sincerely. "I can't believe how much work you put into this place. You have a real green thumb." "Lots of practice," Sarah demurred, secretly basking in the praise. She nodded at his outfit. "You're home early today." Liam ducked his head. "Actually, today was my last day. I wanted to talk to you about that." He paused. "My friend Colin is graduating too and moving to the city. He asked if I wanted to get an apartment with him." Sarah's stomach dropped, but she kept her voice light. "That's great, Liam. Sounds like an exciting opportunity." "Yeah, it is. I think I'm going to do it, but, He cleared his throat. "I wanted to thank you for renting to me, for trusting me to help with your business." His gaze held hers. "For everything." Sarah's heart clenched. "It's been my pleasure," she managed. "You've been a huge help and a wonderful tenant. And you've been an amazing landlady and friend." Liam's eyes were soft. "I'm really going to miss you, Sarah." "I'll miss you too," she said around the sudden lump in her throat. "But I'm so happy for you. You've worked incredibly hard and you deserve all good things." "Thanks," he said quietly. "That means a lot." He took a step closer, hand twitching at his side like he wanted to reach for her, then stopping himself. Awkward for the first time, he gave her a quick nod. I'd better head in. Night, Sarah." "Good night," she whispered to his retreating back. When he was gone, Sarah turned off the hose and sank down onto the porch steps, heedless of her damp clothes. Hot tears pricked at her eyes. She knew she should be happy for Liam and the bright future ahead of him, and part of her was. But she also felt like she was losing something precious, something she hadn't realized she needed until he'd walked into her life. "Stop being ridiculous," she scolded herself. "Liam is young, with his whole life ahead of him. You knew this was temporary. Let him go." But as Sarah sat there in the deepening dusk, she couldn't shake the sense that she was making a massive mistake, that she'd regret this moment for the rest of her life if she didn't say something. Heart pounding, she leapt to her feet and hurried inside before she could second-guess herself. She knocked on Liam's door, hands shaking. When it opened, his eyes widened. "Sarah, is everything okay?" "No," she said breathlessly. "I mean, yes, but I need to tell you something before it's too late." Liam's brow furrowed in concern. He stepped back to let her in, closing the door. "What's going on? You can tell me anything." Sarah took a deep breath, gaze locked on his. "I have feelings for you," she confessed in a rush. Liam's mouth fell open, but she stumbled on. "I know it's completely inappropriate. I'm your landlady, and more than a decade older than you. You must think I'm pathetic, this middle-aged woman lusting after a grad student. I didn't mean for this to happen, I swear. You're incredible, Liam, in every way. And the thought of you leaving, of never seeing you again." She trailed off, face hot with mortification. She'd said far too much, made a complete fool of herself. Liam was probably horrified, disgusted. Humiliated tears filled her eyes and she turned away, unable to bear his reaction. "I'm so sorry. God, I'm sorry. I'll go, just forget I said anything." "Sarah, wait." His hand wrapped around her wrist, gently tugging her back around. His other hand cupped her cheek, thumb brushing away a tear. "Please don't cry. You have nothing to apologize for." "But I have feelings for you too," Liam said, voice rough with emotion. Sarah's eyes flew to his in shock, but he just smiled, a tender quirk of his lips. "I have for months. I just never thought. I mean, you're amazing, Sarah. Brilliant and hardworking and gorgeous. I didn't think I had a chance." Joy exploded in Sarah's chest, dizzying in its intensity. She reached up to trace Liam's face with shaking fingers. "You have so much more than a chance. You have my whole heart, if you want it." His smile widened, eyes crinkling at the corners. "I want it," he rasped. "I want you." Then he was kissing her, arms banding around her waist to haul her against him. Sarah melted into the embrace, hands fisting in his hair. Liam's lips were soft but insistent, tongue licking into her mouth to tangle with hers. Sarah felt consumed, branded, cherished. Nothing had ever felt so right. They finally broke apart to breathe, foreheads pressed together. "Stay," Liam murmured. "Please stay." Sarah had never been able to deny him anything. She wasn't about to start now. Pulling him down for another hungry kiss, she walked them back towards the bed, determined to show him just how much he meant to her. Later, much later, they lay twined together beneath the sheets, sweat cooling on their skin. Sarah's head rested on Liam's chest, his heartbeat steady beneath her cheek. "I love you," she whispered, almost afraid saying it aloud would break the spell. But Liam just pressed a kiss to her hair, arms tightening around her. "I love you too," he said, quiet but sure. "You know this means I'm staying, right? I don't want to leave you." Warmth spread through Sarah, an all-consuming sense of rightness settling into her bones. "Then don't," she said simply. "Stay here with me. Let's give this a real chance." She felt Liam's smile against her skin. "That's all I want," he said, voice thick. "A chance to make you happy." "You already do," she promised, shifting up to pepper his face with kisses. "So much." They fell asleep just like that, wrapped in each other, finally right where they belonged. And for the first time in 45 years, Sarah's last thought before she drifted off was that she couldn't wait to see what tomorrow would bring, as long as Liam was by her side. In the days and weeks that followed, Sarah and Liam navigated the shift in their relationship, from tenant landlord and employer employee to partners in every sense of the word. It wasn't always easy. More than a few of Sarah's friends raised eyebrows when she introduced her much younger boyfriend. Liam's parents were polite but clearly puzzled by his choice in partner. Sarah herself had moments of anxiety, worrying she was holding Liam back from the youthful adventures he should be having. But every time she voiced those fears, Liam shut them down with utter certainty. "You're the only adventure I want," he would say firmly, "the only one I'll ever want." His unwavering faith slowly soothed Sarah's insecurities, until she started to believe a love like theirs really could last. When Liam took a teaching job at a nearby elementary school, they celebrated by making his room at Sarah's their officially shared bedroom. Both of their names were on the mailbox now, their clothes jumbled together in the closet. The longer they were together, the more natural it felt, like coming home. They still bickered occasionally and had to work at communication, but at the core of it was a bone-deep understanding, a partnership based on mutual respect, laughter, and abiding devotion. On their 1-year anniversary, Liam took Sarah back to the porch steps where she'd first confessed her feelings. He got down on one knee, a small velvet box in his hands. Sarah gasped, hands flying to her mouth as happy tears filled her eyes. "Sarah, my love," Liam began, voice shaking with emotion, "you are the best thing that's ever happened to me. I can't imagine my life without you in it. I want to fall asleep next to you and wake up to your beautiful face every day for the rest of our lives. Will you marry me?" "Yes," Sarah managed to choke out, astonished she could talk past the overwhelming joy. "Yes, of course I will." The next moment, Liam was sliding the ring on her finger and leaping up to swing her around in a giddy hug. Sarah laughed against his neck, heart so full she thought it might burst. She knew some would say she was crazy for marrying a man half her age, that she was having a midlife crisis, or he was after her money, or any other number of cynical explanations. But she also knew, with unshakable certainty, that this was the great love of her life, and nothing else mattered. 2 years to the day after Liam moved in as her tenant, Sarah walked down the aisle of their backyard on her father's arm. Liam stood under a flower-covered arbor, eyes wet as he beamed at her. Surrounded by their loved ones, they exchanged the vows they'd written themselves, promises to cherish and support each other, to choose each other anew each morning, to build a life of purpose and joy together. As they kissed to raucous applause, the road ahead stretched out before them, winding and unknowable, and absolutely perfect because they would walk it side by side. Sarah had thought she was content before Liam, thought she'd constructed exactly the life she wanted. But now, as his strong arms wrapped around her waist and his laughter rumbled against her lips, she knew the truth. She hadn't been living at all, merely existing in a sepia-tinted haze. It was Liam who had brought vibrant color back into her world, Liam who made her believe in love, in second chances, in happily ever after. As they turned to face their cheering guests, hands clasped tightly, Sarah said a silent prayer of thanks for unanswered wishes. Because if all her previous dreams had come true, she might never have found her way to this, to him, to the kind of once-in-a-lifetime love she'd stopped believing was possible, the kind of love that transformed and redeemed, that made every day an adventure, the kind that felt a lot like coming home. Hand in hand, they stepped out into the bright spring day, ready to embrace whatever magic the future held, together always.